Hello guys, it's Dark and Halo 115 back. Uh, I haven't been recording or uploading much within the past months. Covered Smash Bros. Ultimate just a wee bit when it came out. I kinda was dead before then. Not literally, but the channel. And that's because I've been working on something else in my free time. I've been coding, and right now I just want to go through a basic bank app that I've been doing. It's a console-based application. It's pretty secure. And I'm first just going to show you how it runs before we get into the actual coding and data of it. This is a banking example developed by me, Jamari, that's my real name, that stores data in other files. When X make a transaction, you can input these commands in order to continue, reset the data, or end the program. And let's make a transaction. In this program, I put it as yes or Y. It doesn't matter if I capital letter it because it lowers it inside the code itself. As you can see, deposit is either, again, the full name, or you could just do D. And that's our current balance, which is held inside this file. And we're going to deposit $20. So our new amount is 120, as you can see. I'm going to make a withdrawal just so that that works too. And I'm going to put it capital and the full thing. It doesn't matter how you do it. You can go OD on it. Still works. Withdrawal, of course, you're just taking money out. Changes it in here. As you can see, it has the new balance. And at any time during these transactions, there we go, we're at the bottom again. We could just quit, and it exits the program. And our last file is our transaction log. It holds every data balance that we've done. This is the start. These are the old balances before we changed them with the transaction. Here you can see it was a deposit of 20 to make the new balance 120. Then going from that new balance, this is the old balance. We changed it by 30 because it was a withdrawal, and it became 90. Now let's get into the actual program itself. This is a Python-based program, about 150 lines if I remember. Yep. We import math just to do basic math calculations. I really don't think you need it. I think I just did. Yeah, it's just basic. Basic procedures, yeah. I import system just so it quits out of the application when we prompt it with system.exit, which you'll see throughout the code. The print is just the starting text that you saw. This is a making example developed by Jamari. We already covered that. And here are our functions. When we were prompted in the beginning, where we could reset stuff. Oh, I don't think I showed that actually. Let me go back. We can clear all of our data. So here we have 90 from last time. By the way, it saves from all your other times. We can reset the data back to 100, which is clear. Yes, yes. So our logs are filled before, and our bank account was at 90 before. Now it's back at 100, and our transaction log is cleared. Alright, so back to the function. This resetted the starter balance. This print obviously just prints to the screen that data. Add star is a variable. We took the string of it, so it's always in a writable format of our input. So we can't get any numbers or integers to mess with it. We simply lowered it so it's always lowercase, so I only have to do a couple of checks. instead of having to look for like capital Y here, capital yes, all mixed like lowercase y, uppercase e, lowercase s. Lower just makes it more simplified in the program. Right now we use a conditional if just to check. And if it's true, we have a file that we open, the bank data file, which I'll go to, which held our bank account. And it would reset that by writing on it and changing that to the string of 100, not the integer, because you can't write to a file of integers. It doesn't work like that. You have to first transform it into a string before it can get sent. And now this is the second one where we reset our old logs. Erase obviously is another variable. We took the string of the input and then lowercase everything down. And then if that input was Y or yes, again, it doesn't matter how we write it, it would open the transaction log over here, write to it, and just put start. Alright, prompt. This is the beginning of the program. Would you like to make a transaction? Again, a variable. We took the string of the input, again, introduced and mess with it. We make it lowercase, and then we start up. And we bring the variable transact and inherit it to the next part. To here, confirm. So in define startup, confirm is now equal to the value of transact before, which is up here. Now we just do a basic loop while run equals true, which means it's while the while is true. We take another conditional if and confirm, which is transact up here, is yes or y. We go to transact option, which is down here. If it equals no or n, and I also did quit or q because that may be one way you want to exit out the application. And it doesn't matter if it's cap or lowercase, because again, it makes it lowercase. It exits the program. So I put exiting just to let the user know. We do system.exit to exit out the program. Elif confirm, which is transact again up here, equals clear or C, which I showed you before. It resets the making logs and makes it back to the value. Add starting balance, so we go all the way back here and we can clear values and reset them. And where was I? Okay, right here. And anything else, it just prints input invalid and it restarts from here. Would you like to make a transaction? So if I put a number or integer, same thing basically. Or if I make some weird like string value, it just brings us back. So let's move on to the next part. Transact option. Would you like to make a deposit or withdrawal? Gets printed to the screen. We take the change to variable. We string it, the input. I really didn't need to put the double quotes. I could actually take those out because it's going to be stringed anyway. And then we lowercase it again. We take more conditionals, deposit or D. We can deposit money, which is going to be down here, which has more functions. Withdrawal or W is withdraw money, which again has several functions, which we'll explain. And then quit or exit, like I put throughout my program, you could just type that in, and you'll, again, it prompts you that you're exiting the program, and then exit the program. And anything else gives you invalid input, and it'll restart it. Alright, and as you notice for both deposit money, let me go up to show you that. We have check balance, and in withdrawal money, we have check balance. The user obviously wants to know their balance before the transaction to see how much it's changed. So simply, we open the file, bank data, which has their account. We only read it, which means the file only shows it, and we can't write to it. We put to the console current balance and print the current balance to the file, the program. And then we take the variable current which is the data in the file, and then we just change it to a float so it's more manageable within the code, and close it. So now current is our bank account number. Remember that, because that goes to the next part. Now this is where deposit money and withdraw money are different. They have the deposit action and the withdrawal action. Now these actions are actually very similar. It's just the key variables that are different between them. So both will try to open your bank data again. They take current as your current bank account balance, and they keep that as a float, which means it has a float is a decimal equivalent, because in Python you have integers, which are whole numbers, and then floats are, they could be like improper numbers, like fractions from school. So you can take like 1.045, and it's way more. This is a bank account. We deal with real numbers, so since we prompt the user how much they want to deposit, the added amount is equal to the input of the user, so whatever they put in. Then we take the float of that. As you can see, we get added amount, the previous variable, we float it, and then we open the file of the bank account. We have the new amount, which is a variable, is equal to the current amount as a float plus the new amount as a float, which I don't think I actually showed it as floats, so let me go back and quickly go over that. So look, 1.25, $1.25, $1.25, $1.25. We have the float here. If you take it out, it'd actually be incompatible with decimals, so that's a very important thing to keep, obviously. And then we have the new amount, which is right here, which is the current amount plus the new added amount. And then we take that as a string, and we can write that to the log. Remember, you can't write directly to a file with integers. It has to be a string. And then we close the file because we're done with it. We add in the new data, as you can see. And then we open bank data.txt again, and we just read the new amount and close the file. And now this is just a basic variable to let us know what occurred. Transaction occurred. I put plus to show it was a deposit, which is adding money. And then we go to transaction logs, which takes 4 arguments and will go into a function, which is down here. And it will show what happened, which I'll go over in a wee bit. Now you might notice the try and accept. The try means do this until an error occurs. And obviously you can see where there could be an error here. A user can put it into the input, a string. Now you can't add my bad, not variables. You can't add integers to strings. So if you put in a string, say, let's say I wanted to deposit lettuce. You can't deposit lettuce into a bank account. So what does that occur? An error, an invalid input. Now I forced it to say invalid input, but I can make it say something else. Basically you get a value error when you try to add in integer to a string. That doesn't make sense, and I have to do that in that case. Print, you provided an invalid input. That covers us. Basically just ignores the user's input and resets the thing back up to transaction option in case they're trying to break the code. Now normally this isn't something you would want to do, but here it's kind of unavoidable if the user puts in wrong input, which you probably do. You probably sanitize user input and make it not be able to put in letters, but I don't think that's. I think this is the easier option right now, simpler. Withdraw money. Basically, it's the same as deposit money. We'll go over it again. You open bank data, you take the current amount, you make it a float so it can add decimals, you close it. The user's prompted how much they want to withdraw. That input is now the added amount. You take the float of it, you open it one more time, but it's in a writable format. The new amount is equal to the current amount minus what you want to add to it because it's withdrawal. And that new amount is now taken as a string. So you could write it to the file. And now you write that amount to a new file. And we close the file. In file.open, we take the new value. We simply prompt the user that new value is, and we read the file, which will give us the new value. We close it. Our transaction occurred is minus, obviously to show a withdrawal. And we go to transaction logs with the 4 arguments. And again, if someone tries to put a string in, it'll give us a forced error of you provided invalid input and go back to would you like to make a transaction. Transaction logs takes 4 arguments, which I reassign just to make it easier. And I make log the variable of this. So I just take the whole file and I just simplify it into a variable where it's open. And it's in A, which is an appendable format, which means you could add to it. And then basically I take those new amounts, convert them all to strings, and I write them down. Your old balance was, and it takes the current here. The transaction occurred equals the transaction type plus the transaction amount, which we can see up here. This would be the transaction occurred. And the amount is obviously the flow added amount, which is right here. And the new balance is the updated amount, which is the new amount, which is right here. And as I said, we take the string of them all so they can be written into files. And then it prints that to the transaction log. And then simply I just have one more function down here, which is the main. It's just my starter initiator for the whole sequence. It starts from prompt, and then it'll zigzag through the code calling its functions. And then simply I prompt this whole thing, which is putting main. That's about it.